All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Breakdown After Dark. I'm your host, Casey Smith, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Aidan Dobell and Keenan Bond. And how are you fellas doing on this Monday night?
I'm doing fantastic. I just watched one of the unbeatens go down. So the last unbeaten is the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. So shout out to them. That was a great game. It's impossible to win at Allen Fieldhouse, I guess,
Yeah, I'm sure we'll,
but
we'll talk about that more later. But how is your
for sure.
personal life, Aidan? What
Uh,
what what happens? What do you have outside of sports?
uh, Gym, intramurals, schoolwork. That's about it.
Wow, thrilling. Keenan?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's really I think it's a difficult time in a lot of people's lives. I think it's important that we had this show. I was really thinking about not going on after the recent events that happened at ASU with Clove getting, brutally frame mogged by an ASU frat leader. But I decided that I think it's important to have conversations, and I think it's important to still have that people have something to enjoy.
Something to look forward to after that national tragedy
Yeah.
of Klav getting frame mogged.
Yeah, especially,
What are we even saying anymore, man?
especially how close it is to us
Oh,
physically, but also emotionally. Um, yeah. So
were you
can we
were
get
you
a can we get
tuned
a
into the
two?
stream?
I was tuned into the stream. So I had to look away. I had to turn it off. For my, if we could get just 3 seconds of silence for Mr. Clavicular. Okay, let's continue with the show. We have a beautiful slate lined up for you guys. NFL, the Super Bowl happened. We have our players of the week. The NBA trade deadline happened. It feels like there's so much going on in men's college basketball, and the waste management has concluded. So we have plenty to chat about. But we got to start off with the bowl. We got to start off with the Super Bowl. Do we want to talk? Do we want to talk game first, or do we want to talk about the extracurriculars first? The commercials, the halftime show, all that jazz.
Um,
I mean, I feel like
there wasn't a lot to talk about from
Let's
the
get yeah,
game,
let's
to
get
be
let's get into the
honest.
weeds of the
I
game.
feel like we might
We'll
as well
start
just get
with
the
that.
game out of the way.
What did we think of the game? It was pretty much a blowout. The Patriots put up 13 points, but even that feels stat
I
pad.
mean,
You can't really stat pad in the Super
like
Bowl, but it feels Mickey Mouse.
uh, they had the one deep ball to Mac Hollins with like 12 minutes left. I think that made it 19-7. And then they had like a nice drive late where Ramondre Stevenson caught one, but um, they really just could not get anything going on offense. Like they were struggling to run the ball. Drake May just really couldn't get into a rhythm. I mean, their O line was getting bulldozed all night long. Like the Seahawks were doing a really good job of like disguising where they were sending the pressure from, whether it was like, Devin Witherspoon on like a slot blitz, or they would drop the defensive tackles and bring the linebackers. They were just a fantastic defensive scheme from Mike McDonald.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had a feeling this could be a pretty convincing win by Seattle. I just thought it'd be more entertaining to watch. There just wasn't much offense. We didn't get the first touchdown of the Super Bowl until the fourth quarter, which is just crazy. I just expected a little bit more out of the Patriots and Drake May, honestly. I know everyone is clowning on him for not just this game, but he had a really rough postseason. I think statistically one of, if not the worst of all time. But I was just disappointed, for the season he had and to finish second in MVP. I know a lot of people, and it is correct to say that I think his O line didn't really help him or give him any favors. Will Campbell, especially, just tell the difference. Sam Darnold he wasn't great, but he was efficient and he didn't make big mistakes.
Oh, I think
But
did
Drake
Keenan
made crucial turnovers.
you cut out there for a second, at least on my end, Keenan, but I think you're good now.
I I
Um,
I, I got him.
oh, okay. Well, then, maybe I'm just losing my hearing. I mean, I took a few too many hits back in the day. Sometimes the CTE monsters talk to me. But
Mr. Smith, your box was the one that disappeared off my screen.
oh, okay, wow. Oh, you can see me. That's. Can you? Can oh, whatever. This is technical garbage that we'll talk about later. Let's stick to
And yep,
football for now.
you disappeared
Um,
again.
Anyways,
Whatever.
um, I thought this game was not going to be that close. I talked about it on the show last
I can
week.
hear him talking.
Um,
Casey, you cut out. Casey, you're cutting out.
my, can you at least hear me?
I can hear you.
That's
Yeah.
all that matters. You don't need
I,
to see
I
me.
yeah, I can
I don't
too.
think Aiden's ever been able to see me.
I haven't been able to see
Which is
either one of you,
which
so
is fine. Just as long as you're able to hear my pretty voice. The viewers at home can see me. I have a stream pulled up. But no, I thought May was going to put up a better fight than this, but last week I came on the show. I said I didn't think it was going to be close. I said I thought this Patriots team had a pretty easy schedule, and they did. That wasn't like some made up narrative. That was just kind of the reality of the situation. That this was one of the weakest AFC conferences that I've ever seen. It was really wide open, and they took advantage of it. But I didn't. I don't think this is like a Super Bowl ultra amazing caliber team. Like I think with the if you told me they are like a 10-win team next season, I wouldn't be super surprised. I think they're still going to be a winning, they did make it to the Super Bowl at the end of the day, but, the weapons still aren't incredible. May still has some work to do, even though he's awesome. He's still a young quarterback. Shout out to Christian Gonzalez. He played amazing. This whole Patriots defense really, really played well. I mean, the fact that they held on for so long, eventually they were gonna break, but Gonzalez on his own kept this from being maybe one of the all-time blowouts.
yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I mean, like their defense was just on the field all the time, just because it was. I think the first like 6 drives of the game for the Patriots were all punts. Like they just could not get anything going. Gonzalez was outstanding. He really limited what JSN was able to do in this game. I think, at least
Yeah.
from our four, we all predicted JSN to lead the game in receiving yards, and I think he finished with like 4 for 30 or something like that. Like he did not have a very big impact, considering he's the offensive player of the year. But just when your defense is on the field as much as the Patriots defense was, eventually you're gonna start to have some lapses. And Kenneth Walker, rightfully so, won Super Bowl MVP. He was just really good. He read his blocks really well. He was super patient. He was breaking tackles. Like there were multiple times where he would get hit in the backfield, just kind of bounce back and make it like a 7-8 yard gain. So rightfully deserved Super Bowl MVP for Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, I mean, who would have guessed that a running back would win a Super Bowl MVP? It hasn't happened since Terrell Davis in the 90s. So really, I mean, he had a good performance, and also no one else really, really showed out on this Seahawks team offensively, and they didn't really need to. I mean, maybe you could have given it to a defensive player, but it was really the whole defensive effort than like one individual standout performance. So I think the Super Bowl MVP is fair. Um, and to your point, Aiden, of JSN not leading, it was Mac Hollins who led the game in receiving. It just wasn't a lot of passing going on. In my opinion, probably which Super Bowl was worse to watch, this one or the Eagles Chiefs last year?
Um, I would say this one. I think at least Eagles Chiefs, had some big moments. Like you had the Cooper DeJean pick six. You had like that game was never really competitive, but you still had big moments. You had the big deep ball to Devontae Smith. Like I guess this game, the big moment was at the end, the fumble return touchdown. But it was just, I mean, at halftime, like there wasn't really a whole lot to get super excited about.
And I think at least my mindset in the Eagles Chiefs game was the Chiefs could always come back. Maybe it was
Hmm.
Mahomes and their offense was still explosive, if not being capped by the Eagles. So I thought even when it was like a 3-score game, I thought maybe the Chiefs can come back. This Patriots offense was just pathetic all night long. They weren't even getting in field goal range the entire first half. The entire first half, they might as well have just punted every time they got the ball, quite frankly, because it was a disgusting display of offense. For Darnold, obviously he wins the Super Bowl, and he is now perhaps the best example of a reclamation project going right for a quarterback
Mm-hmm.
in the NFL. Do you think this changes how teams view a quarterback who doesn't do so well maybe on their first or second team, but, maybe they can work out somewhere else? Because Darnold didn't work out on the Jets. He didn't work out on the Panthers. He didn't work out on the 49ers. But he worked out pretty well on the Vikings, and then he won the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. Does this change maybe how a team views like a Kyler Murray?
I think so. Yeah, I would say so. I think, and I talked about this in the last episode. I think it just really emphasizes how, a player's stock as a young player can get tainted by bad coaching. I mean, Adam Gase now looks like one of the worst head coaches in recent memory with how badly he messed up Sam Darnold's progression. Props to Clint Kubiak for figuring out how exactly to utilize Sam Darnold in this offense. And I think I'm not going to say that I think that this automatically means that Kyler Murray is destined to be the next great reclamation project and he will be winning a Super Bowl soon. But I think you will see teams more willing to pay the price and at least, take a chance on quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. I mean, you see it even in like a Daniel Jones where you get a hint of what a quarterback can truly be when they're in the right place at the right time.
I think maybe one of the biggest takeaways that I have is I think this might change a little bit how teams choose to sort of construct their rosters, just because like a lot of the big time quarterbacks are getting paid 50 to 60 million dollars. Sam Darnold I think is getting paid like on average for his contract is I think 33.3, but he was making like 25, 26 million a year. I wonder if weirdly Sam Darnold winning a Super Bowl maybe decreases the overall market or the value of quarterbacks because teams are just not willing to necessarily pay those big time contracts out and try to limit, say
I think
we can build the rest of our team really well and not necessarily have to spend a ton of money on like a big time quarterback.
I think my pushback on that is you're just not going to do that in any given scenario. In a vacuum, it makes sense. But like if you're the Cowboys and your choice is pay like Dak, who's probably not worth like 50 million, or let him walk, you're never going to let him walk because the alternative is
fair.
being in the Browns space or the Raiders space or any of these teams that have been without a quarterback for 10, 20, 30 years. I mean, it's hard to even get to a Dak or a Darnold level. And, you can maybe say, let's throw ourselves out in free agency and try and get a guy. But even then, you're going to have to pay that guy a certain amount. So letting your guy walk, it's probably not a great decision to pay a guy like Goff or Dak like 50 mil. But it's definitely not a good decision to be like, okay, we're going to try to hit on like a late first round pick quarterback or like a second round pick quarterback. I mean, even a guy like Darnold or Baker or Daniel Jones, they were first round picks. Like it's just difficult when you're put in that situation to say, hey, we're going to let this guy walk and go into the unknown, because the unknown can be scary. As a Browns fan, it can last a really long time. As a Bears fan, I mean, now you have Caleb Williams, but like how many years were the Bears just desperately searching for someone who could be consistent?
Yeah, probably about like 10 to 15 years, I'd say.
Yeah,
And where you're just kind of like every 3-4 years you're just cycling in a new quarterback hoping that he can be the guy. First it was Mitch Trubisky, then it was Justin Fields, and now I think most fans would agree that the Bears finally found their guy, Caleb Williams. But even he still has areas to improve, but that's a different story. I think most people would agree that Caleb Williams is the franchise quarterback going forward for them.
Do we
My
have
counter argument to you, Casey, I just want to say real quick, take my quarterback, for example, is would you pay CJ Stroud right now? Because I know it's either do you pay him or do you potentially let him walk and maybe turn into another Sam Darnold? I mean, Dolphins and Cardinals fans will tell you what happens when you pay the guy that you have right now because there's no better options.
I think there's a different level between like in all honesty, what Stroud's on and like what Dak's on. I think when you're talking about like a Stroud or a Tua, like those are objectively bad, like guys who are like top 20, like just definitely not worth the money. Versus a guy like Dak or Jared Goff, like I would say they're about top 12 quarterbacks. Roughly.
I think that's
But they're getting paid like top 5 money. That's where the situation is difficult. I think it should be pretty easy to say no to a top 20 guy getting like the max contract. But like a top 12 guy, that's where it's kind of rough. Like I think there's not a million, but there's a lot of CJ Strouds out there, but there's not as many Jared Goffs. I think that's fair to say, but it's a difficult situation either way. Yeah, you don't want to end up in a Tua situation. Do we have any other thoughts on the game itself?
No, not really.
Then let's talk a little bit about the commercials and the halftime show. And then let's talk a little bit about some of the free agency news that's come out. Commercials. What do we think, fellas? And we all watched the game together.
Yeah.
No, I didn't care for the ads this time. Some of them, like, obviously were AI generated, which just automatically threw me off. Like, I did not appreciate having AI generated commercials thrown at my face. Like, it was just, it's not good content, no matter how much they want to spin it. And the other ones just kind of felt weird, you know? Like, I'm not trying to make it sound like commercials were so much better when I was a kid during the Super Bowl, but it just felt off this year.
The thing that I would say was like there aren't really many commercials that like I even really remember. Like there weren't too many memorable commercials, which I think is what you're going for. You want people to like be talking about them for a while to come. I don't know that there were really too many of those.
I mean, I've never been a huge commercial guy, but at least you're looking to get something memorable. The only commercial I really remember was one I don't even want to talk about.
The Manscaped ad.
The Manscaped ad was, at least that was successful. You're always gonna have a couple of those every year. But
I'm gonna remember that one.
What was annoying to me was like the company, like there was like every other ad felt like it was either AI generated or like a gamble or like you need a gamble or like Coinbase or like some meme coin. Like, dude, we didn't even have a single chip commercial. Like there was no Doritos, there was no Lay's. Not that like
there was one Lay's ad.
There was one Lay's commercial.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was,
but you don't remember it. See, you don't remember it.
Yeah, I was kind of checked out. I mean, Stephanie Smith says the prostate screening one was good. That one was actually good. I like that one.
With the tight ends.
With the buns, the tight ends. That was good.
That was good.
Still
AI generated though.
Was it really? Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Either way, you know, what Super Bowl commercials really are is just people trying to like advertise to you. But at least like make it worth my time a little bit. I was scrolling Twitter far more than I would have liked. And a halftime show, I'm not a big halftime show guy. I mean, at least when I was watching football back in like middle school and high school and elementary school, and I was at Super Bowl parties, the halftime is when we'd go out and play football in the yard.
Yeah.
And I would like I low-key missed that. I wish we had a little mini football we could have tossed around. But it was cool. When I'm looking like, because none of the artists that I listen to are like nearly big enough to ever like. Jamiroquai is never gonna have a halftime show. Maybe Tyler the Creator,
dream though, right?
Yeah, Tyler the Creator maybe could. He might be nearing that level, but even that would be a long stretch. Like the Strokes, Phoenix, the Marias, they're never gonna have a halftime show. So what I'm looking from a halftime show is like, entertain me a little bit, throw some cool stuff, and yeah, it was fine. It was good. I thought that the set pieces were cool. The one thing I was confused about, do you remember before the show started, we saw like the grass people walk out onto the field?
Yeah.
Why did the grass have to be people? I feel like that's so.
Yeah, that was a little confusing. They didn't.
Yeah, I have no idea.
If you're gonna have them be people, have them dance, have them move, have them do something. Like they had them be people, and they did not move the entire time.
What do you think the audition process was for like I'm gonna be the grass in the Bad Bunny halftime show, and I'm just gonna stand there?
I'm sure it was thorough. I mean, you could see that one guy who was like scratching his arm, breaking the immersion.
I mean, I was thinking that the whole time. Like, I would not like being the grass. I would have been
Yeah.
so just itchy and uncomfortable. Oh, that would be that would be awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
I agree with you though, Casey. When I say I thought the halftime show was okay, I'm a guy who like the Kendrick Lamar halftime show was the first one that I got excited for like in a
You didn't.
long time. So
What about the weekend
I don't
one?
really look forward to. Yeah, I look forward to the weekend too, but like
Yeah.
that's two out of so many Super Bowls I've watched in my life. It's just never really an artist that I love, or it's not really an event that I like. I get super amped up for. So I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, but if we want to move on to the free agency stuff, um, I know we talked about this earlier, Aiden. Njoku says he's out of Cleveland.
yes,
He officially says he's out of Cleveland, which means Harold Fannin will really, really step into the role of tight end one. I like this. I've never been a huge Njoku guy. I mean, he's definitely gotten better, but I've never thought he's a particularly good blocker in the pass or the run. He has drop problems. He's really fast and athletic, but I like Fannin more. You're gonna, you're not gonna have to pay him as much. You drafted him, so let's go roll with the young guy.
yeah. I think also for Njoku, he probably wants to go somewhere where he feels like he can really compete. And for the Browns organization, he was not a guy that was worth re-signing for the price tag that he'll probably be asking for, which might be like 10 million a year. I don't really know. He's an older tight end too. I think he'll be 30 by the start of the next season. So it just makes way more sense to for them to roll with Harold Fannin, who like we saw him as the season went on. He kept getting better and better, and he looked really good. He looked promising. So I think it's kind of a win-win for both sides.
Yeah, I think it also makes sense. I mean, you have to consider the Browns with the Deshaun Watson contract. They have to save cap space by any means. And Njoku's solid, but I think he was pretty overpaid. I think he was making from like 12, $13 million a year. I don't know if he really like reflects that on the field. And when you have a guy like Harold Fannin who's young and on a cheap contract right now, I think you have to maximize that.
Yeah. Then the other two pieces, working at PHNX, the two moves that I've seen a lot of buzz for. One is Kyler Murray to the Vikings. Just generally, Kyler Murray's not coming back to the Cardinals. From everything that
Mm-mm.
I've seen, seeing how coaches have talked, seeing how the front office is moving. I mean, Mike LaFleur got asked about him, and he just danced around the question as much as he could. Um, so I think the Vikings kind of. I
I would say the
I
Jets
don't
makes more
know.
sense to me. Simply
Yeah.
because I think the Jets were in a position at 2 where they were really hoping to draft Dante Moore. Obviously, he decided to go back to school. So, if you sign Murray to a 1-year deal, if he's great, awesome, you got your quarterback for the future. If he's not great, you can look to draft a quarterback next year in a QB class that looks like it would be. We say this a lot, and we'll see how we feel about it at the end of the year. But it looks to be a really good quarterback class. So I think you really have nothing to lose if you're the Jets with trying to bring Kyler Murray in. Um, I think the Vikings are still pretty heavily invested in JJ McCarthy to the point where they can't signing Kyler Murray would essentially be giving up on JJ McCarthy, and I don't know that you can do that after just one actual year of him as the starter.
think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. The problem, though, for me though, is it's not a situation where you're just signing Kyler Murray to a 1 year deal, and if it works out, it works out. He's got that hefty contract price tied to him, which I think is the reason the negotiations with him could go a little bit longer than people are expecting. And I think you're absolutely right, Aiden. I think the Jets are more of a logical fit since the best option they really have for a quarterback would maybe taking Ty Simpson with the 16th overall pick. I think that would be a little bit of a reach. So from the news that I'm reading, the asking price of Kyler Murray will probably start at a second round pick. I think, again, you've seen what Sam Darnold in that kind of situation can do, that reclamation project. I think the Jets might be willing to roll the dice.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
the
sorry.
difficult
I'm
thing is
just looking
trading
at
for
the.
him. And the Cardinals will, if they want to save the most money possible, they need to either trade him or cut him soon. I believe the dates are May and June that they
Mhm.
would have like a lot of cap. I'm not familiar with all of it, but I made a short on it today for PHNX. So,
Um, the best option for them would be to trade him. If they released him, they would take on 54 million in dead cap. But if they were able to trade him before June 1st, it would be about 18 million in dead cap. So they're definitely going to look to try to find a trade partner. We'll see who that might end up being. But it would be a huge cap casualty if they were not able to find any worthy trade partner for Kyler Murray.
and then the other move, Malik Willis, probably not going to be on the Packers again. Could go to the Cardinals. It does make a little bit of sense, LaFleur to LaFleur. You get
Hmm.
the GM of the Cardinals was the one who drafted him on the Titans. I mean, I like Malik Willis. I like what he showed. I think that could be a nice, low risk pickup.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
considering how many like teams need quarterback across the league, he'll definitely fill a hole somewhere. How long is he going to be a team solution under center? I think that's the question. I think we've seen him mainly in short doses where he was really solid. I mean, he definitely impressed when you can compare his time in Tennessee versus how he progressed in Green Bay. So I think it's definitely at least worth, maybe that could be the tricky part is the bidding war for him could drive up the price tag. But if it's at a relatively decent contract, then I think it could be a good solution for a team.
yeah, I think it's a bit of a like temporary solution. I don't think anyone's looking at him as like a long-term starter or franchise option. He's much more of like a bridge quarterback. But for a team like Arizona that is kind of just looking for any sort of stability at their quarterback position, and there's not a quarterback to take in this year's draft, I do think that would be a really good option for them for at least a year or two, address some of the other holes and needs on your roster, and have at least some stability at the quarterback position.
Yeah. Well, I think that wraps up everything we have on the NFL, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
28 minutes on the NFL, probably the most we're going to talk about the NFL until the draft again.
Hmm.
But let's get on to our player of the week. This is, I believe, week 14 for it. Why don't we start with you, Aidan, just because I already know who your player of the week was because we just watched him have an incredible performance. Go into his performance, not so much the game, because we'll cover the game later.
Yes, so my player of the week will be Flory Badunga, Kansas's center. A couple nights ago versus Utah, who I know is like the bottom of the Big 12, he had 17 points, 10 rebounds, and 7 blocks. And then tonight versus the number one team in the nation, 23-0 Arizona with no Darren Peterson, he has 23 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, and a steal. He was 8 for 11 from the field. Just he's always just incredibly efficient, but truly is one of the best defensive players in all of college basketball, and was a massive reason why they were able to take down the number one team in the country.
Yeah, I mean, he's an incredible defender just with the amount of switchability and like hip speed he has on the perimeter on that final play of the game and like the recovery as well. Basically, the game-winning block gets blown by, but is just so long and fast and sticks with the play to get over and get his, I believe it was his left hand on it
Yes.
across the top of the ball, which is really sick. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty locked in on the top of the draft. But is he a potential prospect at all? I mean, I just look at like the hip
Yeah.
speed and the ability to move like maybe not 1 through 5, but like he
Um,
can definitely switch on to smaller guys.
yeah, he can switch on to smaller guys, not necessarily as much like as you would want. He's much more of like a post player. He really has no 3-point shooting ability. But the defense is awesome. He's still pretty raw. I think he's only been playing basketball for like 4 or 5 years. Um, so, but just the athleticism, the defensive ability is off the charts. So I think he is a guy who's being charted as probably more of like a late first round pick, if I had to guess.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool guy to be excited over.
Yeah.
Keenan, who's your player of the week?
This is crazy to say considering, I mean, we just saw the Super Bowl being played yesterday, but the game over the weekend that I got the most excited for and was most excited during was Duke UNC. And I'm going to go with Mr. Caleb Wilson for my player of the week. 23 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists on 8 of 12 shooting. He's just the heart and soul of this Tar Heels team. The game was absolutely incredible. I know he wasn't the one to hit the game-winning three-pointer, but Caleb Wilson needs to have more respect on his name, considering most of the conversation centers around Debansa, Boozer, and Peterson. Caleb Wilson is a dog.
Yeah, I mean he didn't hit the game winner, but he was the driving force behind this UNC victory. And yeah, I mean he's going to be a top end prospect. He's projected to go top 5 right now. It's like Debansa, Boozer, and DNP, and then it's like Flemings and Wilson. I think are who's projected 4 or 5, flipping back and forth. Well, I also have a college basketball player. Maybe not quite at the level of a program as Kansas and North Carolina with Badunga and Caleb Wilson, but I wanted to shout out maybe college basketball game of the year in a vacuum. If you get rid of stakes, if you get rid of environment, pure game might be the game of the year. Coastal Carolina, UMass, 94-91, triple OT in case you missed it. And Mr. Joshua Beadle hit multiple big-time shots, including the game winner. I mean, there was, this was just pure ethical hoops because you're told to foul up 3. Neither of these teams did it. There was a 3-point to send it to overtime. There was a 3-point to send it to double overtime. And there was a 3-point to send it to triple overtime. What an incredible game. I mean, played 36 minutes, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists on 3 of 4 from 3. I mean, there was multiple guys on this Coastal Carolina game who had some incredible games. One not so incredible game I wanted to shout out. Mr. Derek Green, not Derek Queen, for Coastal Carolina. Listen to this one. 29 minutes, 1 point, 7 rebounds, 5 personal fouls. I mean, what a game. But no, this was an absolute joy. Go watch the highlights if you get a chance, because only been so many triple OT games. The only other 2 triple OT games that come to mind off the top of my head is San Diego State versus Troy and San Diego State versus Boise State. I'm sure there's been more though, for sure.
Something about those Aztecs. They love the triple OT.
Yeah, but this one was cool too. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen. Did either of you see this game at all?
I didn't. I saw some highlights of it, but I did not see much of the game.
The Coastal Carolina court is like this blue tint, so all the players look like blue over the course of the game. I love that. But if that rounds up our player of the week, then we can get into the NBA. The thumbnail for this video. I mean, so much has happened just a week ago. I mean, the NBA trade deadline, maybe not it's not going to compare to last year because Luka got dealt, but I still thought this was a lot of fun. I think it's the most exciting trade deadline, like pretty easily in any of the 4 North American sports. Let's get through all the big news. I wanted to start off with the one that happened like right after our show, like the day after last week. And this is Harden to the Cavs for Garland in a second. We talked a little bit about it because it was rumored. What do we think of it for Cleveland and for the Clippers?
I like it for both. I like it probably a little more for. I actually like it more for the Clippers. You get 10 years younger. You get a player who, when he's healthy, has been really, really good. In Darius Garland, just the health is the biggest concern. For Cleveland, it is. I like it's an immediate upgrade However, you do get significantly older, and we all know how James Harden, how he kind of notoriously is a playoff choker, I guess, like playoff faller. You know, if you have playoff risers, he's a playoff faller. He just, I don't know what it is about him. He's such a great player, but I don't know if you
Uh,
will
I'll,
really ever win a
I'll,
championship with
I'll
him.
tell you what happens with Harden. In the playoffs, he gets passive and scared, and it's because he can't rely on the same things that he can in the regular season. The whistle gets a little bit tighter. He's not able to. He's not a player who works inside out at this point in his age anymore. So he's not getting those easy looks at the rim. So when the 3-point shot isn't falling, everything becomes incredibly difficult for him. I'll say for Cleveland, it makes sense to me more now. Harden is a bigger guard. You need that across from Mitchell, who's going to play a little bit better defense, even if he's not incredible. And they didn't have a lot of options because they're in the second apron. When you're in the second apron, you can't combine player salaries to make a trade. So they can't combine two players to go get one. So they have to do one for one trade. So this was basically like the best thing they could get if they wanted to upgrade right now, which they need to because there's been rumors that Mitchell wants out if they don't have a deep playoff run this year. So I think this was probably the best they could do given the situation, and it's probably the best the Clippers could do given the situation. If you would have told me when they were like 6-24 that they could have gotten this haul for Harden, I would have been okay with it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad that they're picking a direction. I don't love the personnel. I don't love that it's Garland is the player because I'm not very high on him, but I like that they're getting a younger guard. I like that they're picking a spot. And I think that, how much longer were you going to be able to ride this out? You weren't.
Yeah.
But if we don't have anything else on Garland and the Caps, JJJ goes to the Jazz, Jaren Jackson Jr. for 3 firsts, Walter Clayton. There was a bunch of other guys. Aidan, I know you said you kind of like this Jazz team.
They're definitely interesting. Like I like them. I like them more. Obviously more for the future. Like they're not going to be very good this year. But if you look at their future, like Keontae George, Isaiah Collier, Ace Bailey, Bryce Sensabaugh, Larry Markkinen, Jaren Jackson Jr. Like they have a real potential like core for the future that's pretty young. You'll get Walker Kessler back next year, maybe. Who knows, kind of what the price is and the health stuff. But I mean, defensively, it's going to be hard to find much of a better front court than Walker Kessler and Jaren Jackson Jr. And I think for the Jazz and for Danny Ainge, this was a move to just be like, we're tired of losing. We're tired of just being awful and being in a eternal rebuild. At some point, we have to try to buy in on talent and try to at least get better and prove to our fans that we're trying to win games.
Yeah, I agree with that. You kind of just took the words right out of my mouth. I think the Jazz eventually just have to go like, enough is enough. We need to start making moves to like prove that we're trying to turn the ship around a little bit. For the Grizzlies side of things, I think this was just kind of a move that was inevitable. I mean, they're 11 games under 500, and it just kind of seems like it's time to throw in the towel and admit that this era and this core just wasn't going to get it done. The return, though, I wasn't sure, like, 3 firsts for Jaren Jackson Jr. What do y'all think about that?
I'll say it's a lot because contextually his contract is bad. He's not a negative asset, but he's getting paid like $45 million. And here's the thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. is that he has to be like your third best offensive player unless your number one is like top 5 offensive engine like an Ant, Jokic, Giannis, Shea. He has to be the third best offensive player, which I will say he is on this Jazz team with Laurie and Keontae. And you have to be able to plot him against a really strong center because he can't play the 5 because he fouls and he doesn't rebound well. So the fit is actually really good with the Jazz because you have Walker Kessler, who's like the perfect running mate with him, and you have the offensive stuff. But then you're still, at that point, you're still paying now like your third or fourth best player like $45 million. So I just don't think his value is that high 3 firsts is a lot. I think this Jazz team is not that good. Like I just I think you're kind of capping what your future is because you're already paying Laurie a lot. You missed the boat, I think, on trading him. Like he should have been dealt a long time ago. And now we're trying to build around this core with like who is our number one. We have like Laurie and Triple J and Keontae are all like borderline maybe top 30 to 60 players, but like I don't know. I think that it's unfortunate that they've gotten screwed in the lottery so many times. I think that's kind of the crux of it all, and they're trying to do the best they can. But I like the Grizzlies side of it a lot more.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the Grizzlies got back a pretty good haul, and it was more than time for them to move on. Like um, the John Morant, Desmond Bain, Jaren Jackson Jr. team. I think we all kind of knew that that was never really going to be able. That team was never going to be good enough to realistically compete in the
Dude, like
West.
they were the like
I
they just
yeah.
slowly like okay, it was never gonna work because of Ja fundamentally being a small guard who got hurt, lost his bounce, and couldn't shoot, and like the league is passed on those guys. Like it's really
hmm
unfortunate timing for the Grizzlies because like when he came into the league, he was the perfect archetype, but now he's a terrible archetype. Like you see what guys like Garland and Trae Young go for. Like they don't get traded for a lot. Like Ja has no value because the league just doesn't like small guards anymore. But like the Dylan Brooks, the Jaren Jackson, like they had something there. They just slowly have been getting rid of guys until now you got to go all in on the picks, and I get it.
Yeah, I mean, like John Morant is has no trade value anymore. So the fact that they were still able to get like a realistic haul to try to reset their team for Jaren Jackson Jr., I do see that as a win for Memphis.
Yeah, the Desmond Bain trade to me, it didn't quite feel like they were pivoting towards blowing up. It felt like, well, I mean, if someone offers 4 firsts for Desmond Bain, I don't know if you can pass it up. But this trade of Jaren Jackson Jr. does kind of feel like the admission that it may be time to think about starting over.
Yeah, no Dylan Brooks, no Desmond Bain, no Jaren Jackson Jr. There were so many guys on that team who they dipped out on, and now it's like we're building around Edie, the picks we have, and Cedric Coward, which is fine. Um, Another team that's blowing it up is the Clippers. We talked about Garland, but they also sent out Zoo to the Pacers for Matherin and 2 firsts. The 2026 first is particularly interesting because it's top 1 through 4 protected and 10 through 30. So unless that pick is in 5 through 9, they won't get it. It'll convert to a 2031 first. One of the most interesting protections I've ever seen, and truly like a 50-50 gamble on whether or not it's going to be in that top 4 or in that 5 through 9. It's something that's going to alter the trajectory of both these franchises. What do we think about this?
It's so funny to think that like most teams when they're watching the lottery are hoping. I mean, obviously to get number one. Well, Clippers fans are just going to be hoping for that 5 through 9 range. I kind of stated this already like last week with Garland. I do agree. It's rough with the timing for the Clippers since they were playing their best basketball as of late. But I do agree that it was time to trade away some pieces and ultimately get younger. And just they ultimately the most important thing is that they need to start racking up future draft capital, which obviously the SGA trade drained. I loved Zubats. I know one of our friends hated him with a passion, but I was a big fan of Zoo. So I don't know how much this one stings you, Casey, but this one's interesting from the Pacers' point of view.
Yeah, I think first and foremost you have to think about it from the process. Like you can't. It's gonna really make me upset when whatever happens with the pick. If it goes to the Pacers, afterwards people are gonna be like, "Oh, the Pacers are genius," and if it goes to the Clippers, people are gonna be like, "Oh, the Clippers are genius." You just can't look at it that way. You can't be. You have to be process oriented, not results oriented, when it comes to something like the lottery that is random. Um, I think it's good for the Clips. I think Matherin is an exciting young piece
hmm
that the Clippers need, although he has a lot of stuff to figure out. And I think Zoo's on a good contract, but those firsts are really pivotal. And that 5 through 9 could really change the team. And you're also selling high on Zoo. For the Pacers, this might be a little controversial, but I don't think I like the fit. And I think at first glance you think, okay, we really like this really solid roll man big for Halliburton because he's a really good screen setter. He's really solid defensively as a rim protector. Doesn't foul a lot, but he's a slow post up, pacey, not pacey big, that's clunky and can't switch. And I don't think that's what the Pacers need or that they want to play. They want to run the floor, and I'm sure they'll find ways to minimize his weaknesses, but I don't think this fits very well with the team that the Pacers had. If you look at him as like the Miles Turner replacement, he doesn't run up and down the floor. He doesn't space the floor. He's a much better screen setter and a better defender, but I'm just not sure if this is the archetype that the Pacers should go for, especially when you could be losing. If you get that 1-4 pick, it's awesome. But you could be losing out on Caleb Wilson or Nate Ament or someone, or trading that pick later on in the offseason where you have more options than just Zubac. So I'm not sure if I entirely love it for the Pacers. I'll have to see it on the court and see how he runs with Tyrese.
I was just gonna argue that I don't know that I know Zoo's a good defender. I don't know that he's a better defender than Miles Turner. At least from what we saw last year. This year, probably I don't know.
Miles Turner
Miles Turner's
wasn't
been very good, but
that good in the playoffs last year. And I don't know. It's 50, and you also genuinely have to have some Harden tax because Harden makes bigs look so good. So
that's fair.
I mean, he was making Yannick Conan Niederhauser and Brook Lopez also look really good. So I don't know. I think it's good on the Clips to sell high. But a guy that was completely sold low, AD to the Wizards. 2 firsts that are going to be, in the late 20s, 30s, as well as Middleton and some other guys here and there. His price value really tanked over the past year and some since the Luka trade.
yeah, and it's kind of just based on injury stuff. Like Anthony Davis is still. I don't think he's that much worse of a player overall than he has been the last couple of years. He just is never on the court. Anytime you get a nickname like A Day Today or something like that, like that's not great. He's just constantly like he had like the eye injury, he had like a leg injury, now it's the hand injury, and then like he could come back, but why would he come back for this Wizards team? I think
He won't. He's done for the year.
yeah, I think it's pretty clear what they're trying to do, which is set themselves up for next season with the Trae Young trade, with now the Anthony Davis trade. They're trying to be bad this year, get a high pick, take one of the top guys, and then next year you have Trae Young, like Trey Johnson, Anthony Davis, Alex Sarin, whatever guy you end up drafting pretty high in this draft. So I like it for the Wizards. I think they're certainly an intriguing team, and you didn't really have to give up a whole lot for a guy like Anthony Davis. It just is a matter of will he ever be able to play more than like 50, 60 games in a season?
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's just the same thing with the Jazz where I think eventually you just have to go, enough with the losing. We need to start putting some pieces together to have a respectable team in the future. I mean, obviously the health is just a massive question with AD. If it's, it's one thing after another with him. But yeah, I think it's a relatively cheap price to what it could have been. And honestly, I'm just really intrigued to see what Trae Young and Anthony Davis on the same court look like, and 2, just to see what the Wizards being relevant and somewhat intriguing again, because it feels like they've just been an afterthought ever since, I don't know, like the turn of the decade.
I think it's certainly interesting for the Wizards. I would probably, if you told me that they traded for Anthony Davis and Trae Young, I would have hated it before this, because that's like not what, as much as it sucks to lose, like you look at all the best teams that have won championships, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Celtics, like they build out through the draft and then they make smart decisions, and sometimes they're going to bring in a free, sometimes you get the free agency champion like the Lakers, or the trade champs, but normally you want to build around that young core first, and if you're bringing in stars, it might hurt that. But they did it for so cheap that I really can't hate, and they did it for guys that aren't going to play this year, so you kind of get the best of both worlds. Because, Trae Young went for no picks, and Davis went for 2, really not bad picks at all. They didn't give up any of their future. It's an interesting team. I think AD's a solid guy to put next to Sar, and he's not going to like it, but he has to play center because Sar, I think he's a better. They're both like 4/5, so it'll be weird. Trey Young and Trey Johnson's kind of tough. They're both bad defenders at the guard position, but honestly, how much can you really think about the long term like playoff contending stuff? I think it's fine for the Wizards. We'll see who they draft, and I don't think there's much to say here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Davis was on another team in another year or two. Um, Another move this time from a contender, Sumu to the Bulls for 4 seconds and Rob Dillingham. Aidan, you're our Bulls fan.
Yeah. Um, this was tough. I was really hoping that they would be able to get at least a first round pick back for Dasumu just based on the season that he was having. He was outstanding this season. And has been like he's shooting by far the best splits that he's ever shot. But um, like the seconds are cool. I don't really know what we're gonna end up doing with them. Maybe we end up packaging them in another trade this offseason. Um, I know some people are probably pretty high on Rob Dillingham. I'm not. I don't see him as much of a NBA player. He's not a great playmaker. He's a really undersized guard, which, like you said, that style of player is kind of being phased out. He's not a great defender. Uh, I don't really like the asset of getting Rob Dillingham back, and then the 4 second round picks. I don't really know what they're really going to end up doing with that.
Yeah. For the Bulls, I don't disagree with what they're doing. Like, I think it was Aiden, we've been talking about this for so long. Like, eventually they just have to stop with the
The
half
play-in.
measures and yeah, just stop with the play and just start over, scrap it, just try to build a new foundation. I just don't like the way that they're doing it. Our friend on the Thuggery kind of proposed jokingly to you a trade scenario with Dasumu and Rob Dillingham. I had I just did not believe that it would actually end up being a real trade, and I just kind of wonder, these kind of moves make me doubt that the front office for the Bulls currently is going to lead this team in the right direction even after they're deciding to blow it up.
Yeah, it was time to do something. Like I've been saying for a while, they've been in basketball purgatory where they're not even close to being good enough to ever compete for anything. But they're not nearly bad enough to where they are picking in the top 10. Like they're routinely around like the 10 to 12 mark. So hopefully they lost to the Nets again today. I'm honestly okay with them just continuing to lose games at this point. At least it's a direction if you're going into a full rebuild, which it seems like they're trying to do. I would have liked Tsumu to stay on the Bulls for the future. I really liked him as a player. But I understand this was probably the highest his value was going to be, but if this is the highest his value was going to be. I feel like you could get a better return than what they ended up getting.
Well, it wasn't the only move the Bulls made. They also got another guard, Anthony Simons for Vucevic, basically straight up.
Um, I was much more of a fan of this trade. I've been saying for years that Vucevic needs to be gone off the team. Um, Now, the fact that they just keep trading for more guards was certainly interesting. They got like Jaden Ivey, Anthony Simons, swapped Io DeSumo for Rob Dillingham, um, uh, like called up Mac McClung at some. Like the amount of guards that the Bulls have on the roster is kind of hilarious. But overall, decent move. I like Anthony Simons. I don't know that he'll be back after this season. But this is just another case of the Bulls waited too long to trade some of their guys. Like we saw it with DeMar DeRozan, we saw it with Zach LaVine, and now we saw it with Nikola Vucevic, where like the value was much higher in years prior than it probably has been now, and Vucevic probably should have been traded a couple years ago, and they waited a little bit too long to get him. You got a decent guy back in Simons, but I don't know that he'll be on the team next year.
And they also added Colin Sexton trading Kobe White away for 3 seconds. So the amount of guards is crazy.
I forgot about that trade.
And you come out of the deadline with no first from this entire core, which we're aware of. But you do get 7 second-round picks.
I mean, 7 second-round picks. Like, what are we gonna do with all? What are we gonna do with them?
Well, you see, that could be like 7 Jokic's or 7 Draymond Greens or 7 Manu Ginobili's.
It's gonna be 7. It's gonna be 7 like Julian
Malachi
Phillips.
Flynn's.
Like, it's gonna be 7 Julian Phillips. 7 guys who like don't really play.
Yeah. Too many guards doesn't make a lot of sense. Held your assets too long, and you didn't get top value. And
For
at
anyone.
least hopefully your team will suck a little more now.
That is legitimately the hope for the
only
Bulls, is
hope.
that they just suck and we luck into like a top 3 pick in the lottery somehow, and we get like
How many
AJ
teams are you
Debonsa
saying
or
that for, though? I mean, geez. Yeah.
A lot.
I mean, a lot.
unfortunately.
I would even be cool with, like, I don't know. The problem is, too, this upcoming draft is so guard heavy. Like, after
I know.
After
Well, don't you guys need
We're
more
gonna
guard?
we're 1 guard away. We're 1 guard away from being contenders, guys.
Okay, well, enough of the Bulls. Let's talk about a guy who I'm stunned that he actually got moved. Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield going to the Hawks for Porzingis. Look, my thing on Porzingis, he's incredible. Like, when he's on the floor, he's such an offensive difference maker, and he holds up on the defensive end. But this health stuff is crazy. I mean, he played 17 games for the Hawks. I understand why they wanted to let him go and just like fully go into a more consistent team around Jalen Johnson. But still, Kuminga's not. Maybe
No,
not.
I mean,
maybe Jonathan Kuminga next to Jalen Johnson is like not.
the worst thing in the world.
It is one of the worst things in the world. I don't like the fit at all.
I mean,
I-
I'm just
Yeah.
looking at Porzingis here. He's played over 70 games 1 year of his career,
it's
and that
not-
was his rookie season.
It's
Like,
not
the-
even.
the-
It's like, is he going to get to 50? Would be the benchmark at this point in his career. And
Exactly.
dude, let me say,
your
like,
expectations have to be low.
let me say, if he could get to 50, it would be amazingly worth it. Like, it sucks that Jimmy got hurt, because, like, dude,
This Warriors team with Porzingis could be fun.
are Jimmy and Porzingis ever gonna share the court? Like, probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not moved. I think this Warriors team kind of sucks, and they're slipping. And I mean, this is a fine move to try and grasp at straws, but I think the Curry era is going to end on a whimper. Maybe they trade for Giannis in the offseason. That all changes, but as of now, that's like their only way out. All right, last deal. McCain to the Thunder for a first and 3 seconds.
I mean, I love the deal for the Thunder, actually. Like,
I'm so I feel like this is so
I
short-sighted
don't-
for the Sixers. Like, you're
I don't
getting
understand
a
for
not so good
Philadelphia.
first. I understand you have VJ and Maxey, but I just think this is short-sighted.
the first that you get, if it's from the Thunder, you would assume they're going to be at minimum in the conference finals. So like, you're trading pick 25 to 30, and then a couple seconds for a guy who I know hasn't been great this year, but pre-injuries he was the Rookie of the Year favorite. Now we'll see if he can get back to that level at any point. But yeah, I just don't like giving up on Jared McCain this soon, especially when the return that you get for him is very minimal.
I think if the Thunder want him, that's maybe a sign to not trade him. They're usually right about these type of things, buying low on guys. But apparently Daryl Morey said he was selling high. So yeah,
I don't know how you can see that you're selling high when he's averaging like 6 points a game this year.
it's objectively not. It's I don't know. If you this is not the highest this value has been, but whatever. All right, last thing. So Tatum has been assigned to practice with the Celtics G League, which means he maybe could return this season. I think he will suit up for the Celtics. My thing though is it's not going to be Jason Tatum. It's not going to be the Jason Tatum that we're used to seeing because he's still recovering from that injury and he's not going to be able to contribute in a huge way. Even if he comes back out the gate and he's somehow like 60%, he's still not going to trust his body. He's still not going to be the downhill threat that he is at any point this year. An Achilles injury of that level is so dramatic that even if you are able to play, he's not going to be Jason Tatum for a while, and we're not going to see the true him until 2026.
Yeah. I think it's really up to how Missoula will deploy him if he does, suit up and is, like you said, Casey, 60% ready to go. But I have to feel like if you're the Celtics, I know the risk is definitely there, and I can't imagine that they're going to like throw him into a prominent role. But the value he does provide, just being there on the bench for even just small minutes for a team that is currently the number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference and could be a contender for another championship. I feel like they are probably willing to take that chance to just at least have him there available.
Yeah, I would say even if he like does start practicing, he probably doesn't ever come back until it is the playoffs, would be my guess. But like even if he's not fully healthy, that's still another like decent scoring option, and he's still you would assume he's still going to be a pretty good defender. Obviously, the athleticism is going to take a bit of a hit coming off of an Achilles injury, and like you said, just not trusting the body overall. But I mean, like if he comes back and is pretty solid, I think you have to really look at the Celtics as real contenders to win a championship this season.
Yeah. But I think that recaps everything we got for the NBA. Are we ready to head on to men's hoops?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, we have a big week of games to recap, so we'll try not to spend too much time on any individual game. But last Tuesday, Miami of Ohio beats Buffalo 73-1. They've had a lot of close ones in the MAC, and now in retrospect, that game keeps them alive as the last team in college basketball still undefeated. What do we think about the Red Hawks?
I keep going back and forth on them in my mind. I think there's a reason why St. Louis is moving up in the polls, while Miami of Ohio, while having 0 losses, is kind of stagnating in the top 25. And it's just because Miami of Ohio, like every single game, comes down to the wire. They're a team where they're clutch in the final moments. They know how to pull out close games. And you're just kind of waiting for, inevitably, there will be that one close game where it goes the other way, like we saw with Arizona, which we'll get into later. I like this Red Hawks team a lot, but the other thing that makes me curious is Akron is another really solid team in the MAC, and they already lost to Miami once, but I'm looking forward to a potential – they don't play each other in the regular season again, but if they play each other in the tournament, in the conference tournament, that would really fascinate me.
Yeah, St. Louis is miles better than Miami. Like St. Louis, I actually really like as a tournament team. Their one loss was on a game winner to Stanford. They've actually played some solid competition. They're in a far better conference. The A10 actually has some real teams in there, unlike the MAC, which has Akron, which is good. But even Akron and the A10 would just be another team, quite frankly. They deserve to be in the top 25. They deserve to make the tournament. We'll see how many losses they have. I honestly think if they get to 2 losses, it'll be a conversation. I would still like them in over like an 11-loss Big 12 team or something like that. But it would be a discussion. They genuinely have to. If they get to 3 losses, it might be over, unless they win their conference championship. So we'll see. They're not a very talented team, but they've won every game, so you can't take that away from them at this point.
Yeah, I what is their strength of schedule? Like 350th in the country or something like that?
Bottom 20 in the nation.
Which is nuts. But yeah, like you said, you can't discredit them for winning games. they are probably too close for comfort in a lot of these games, especially just considering that the level of competition is not very good. But I was talking about this earlier with my dad, and I was like, even if they go undefeated, like, what is the highest seed that they can really get based on like their strength of schedule? Is it like a
If
7 seed
they
maybe?
completely win out every single game, conference tournament, I think 6 would be the highest you could realistically put them, and that would be stretching it. Honestly, like they're gonna probably be on like the 8-9 line. And we'll see if I even pick them to win a game in the tournament. It really depends on the matchup. But it would have been a crazy upset by Buffalo. They almost had it. They had a 3 to win the game. But a team that did take their upset, and I mean, they led this one by a solid amount throughout the entire frame. Portland beating Gonzaga 87-80 at home. At home for Portland.
This is the biggest upset of the season, arguably for me.
Yeah.
I mean, Portland, even after this weekend with the win, they're still 11-14. But it was just one of those games where they had that one guy who had the performance of a lifetime. Joel Foxwell, with 27 points on 11 of 18 shooting, just played his heart out. I'm a big Gonzaga fan. I love seeing them near the top of AP poll and consistently good. But I question how good this year's edition is. If you look back at their schedule, their best win is probably Kentucky, I think, and they do have other solid wins against the likes of Alabama, and they've also beaten UCLA, and most importantly, Santa Clara and St. Mary's, who are the most serious threats to the WCC this year. But a 40-point loss to Michigan and then losing to Portland, that's not good, especially when you're a mid-major. You constantly have to prove – like, you cannot have losses like this. You constantly have to prove that you're above that.
Yeah, I mean, a loss to Portland will really do it. And we'll see. They play Santa Clara later this week. I think that'll be a game I'll definitely be wanting to keep my eyes on. But you do say, Portland Gonzaga, I would still say is the biggest upset of the year, but a contender for it, Minnesota beating Michigan State 76-73. What a win.
Jeremy Fears, dude. Please stop. Just because you go to Michigan State doesn't mean you have to be the next Draymond Green. It's gotten to the point where I believe Tom Izzo did call him out after this loss because of his antics. And this is just a really frustrating loss for the Spartans. I mean, Minnesota is just, again, another team that after this weekend are still below 500. This is just not acceptable for Michigan State when you compete in a conference that has some of the best teams in the entire country. We know what Jeremy Fears is capable of, but he just needs to get his head straight.
Like, Jeremy Fears is so tough for me because he is legitimately he leads the nation in assists per game. Like, he is probably the best passer in the country. You could argue he's like maybe the best point guard in the country. But some of the like dirty there's like 3 or 4 clips from this game of him like attempting to trip someone, or there's one clip of he like passes it out of bounds or tries to save the ball and like clobbers a Minnesota player in the face, like just forearm shiver to the face. He had the one where he kicked the dude in the nuts. Like, there's so many. This is all just from one game. Like, he's such a fun player to watch. He just has to stop. He has to stop with these antics and stuff because it's unfortunately controlling the narrative on him when Michigan State's having such a year and he is having such a great year. It'd be awesome for people to talk about how good of a player he is, not how dirty of a player he is.
No, because he's sick to watch. I mean, and if we just move a little bit on, Michigan State responded by beating Illinois. And he played incredibly in that game in overtime. He was good getting downhill. He can't shoot the 3 ball at all. But he's like an amazing playmaker, so it sucks that he does this, dirty stuff because I'd love to cheer him on. But, yeah, I mean, Michigan State doesn't move at all in the AP poll. I guess that's fair considering you beat Illinois, lose to Minnesota. I mean, that's an incredible win and a terrible loss.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. What do we even think of this team?
I don't know.
They're
They're hard to read.
I think
they're interesting. They are not a great 3-point shooting team, which I think
they
could
were
could
bad last year
definitely
too.
I think that
Yeah.
can definitely impact them pretty heavily once it comes to tournament time. But Izzo teams kind of always perform well in the tournament, and this team feels like a very good team. But the lack of 3-point shooting just as a team is really tough, and I think holds them back from being like a top tier contending team.
Yeah. Well, a team that we did see that contended, Houston, beat BYU on Saturday as well, and they just felt like really in control of this game. I really liked what I saw from Kingston Flemings. I mean, he's 6'4". He's a little bit smaller, but he doesn't play small. Like, he gets strong into the paint. He knows how to respond to defenses, and I thought BYU was totally outclassed.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't get to catch most of this game because I was out covering something. Definitely disappointing considering the caliber of win this is for Houston. I mean, this catapulted them to the third spot in the AP poll. This is the kind of performance that is going to. This could win them the national title if they can replicate this kind of performance. It's all about the depth scoring, and if Chris Sinak can keep up this level of play, when he is on, this team is seriously dangerous because we know what Kingston Flemings brings to the table. If he can supplement Flemings and Sharp, I feel confident about this team with the defense. And I'm concerned for BYU. This skid has really shown a lot of cracks. It's a team that has, I mean, again, the high end talent on BYU is fantastic, DeBanza and Richie Saunders, but the defense has really struggled. And it's not a great look when all of these losses have come against some of the upper crust teams of the conference: Arizona, Kansas, Houston, Oklahoma State. That shows that BYU may not be as high up in the national and Big 12 rankings as we thought.
Yeah, it was a rough
Yeah.
skid for BYU, and I thought the offensive rebounding was particularly impressive by Houston. I know you didn't catch
hmm
it, Keenan, but we were both watching this, right, Aiden?
Yeah, especially late in the game, the offensive rebounding was kind of why Houston won the game.
Yeah, it was impressive. I think they deserve to be the third-ranked team in the nation, and yeah, they'll be. We'll do a before the tournament. We'll do like a buyers and sellers. I think that'll be fun. Oh, we're gonna have a show right after Selection Sunday. That'll be sick too. Um, Second to last game we have from this Saturday, UNC beating Duke. You talked a little bit about it earlier with Caleb Wilson. What a game winner! Not by Caleb Wilson, but by North Carolina.
I mean, this game right here just shows why I've seen a lot of people give blowback to like, oh, Duke UNC is not the best rivalry in college basketball. But this game is a testament to why like that could seriously be the case. This game is just absolutely incredible. At first, it just kind of looked like Duke was just going to cruise to victory, um, but North Carolina, to credit to the Tar Heels, they never gave up. Hubert Davis he put on a masterclass in this game and coaching. Uh, Caleb Wilson was a dog, and shout out to Seth Trimble, man. That shot was absolutely incredible. The ball movement on that final possession was awesome. After a shaky start to ACC play, this Tar Heels team is finding form at the right time.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, they had a couple games early in the year, especially in ACC play, where you're like, North Carolina is not that good. They're not going to be very good this year. Like they lost to SMU, they lost to Stanford, they lost to Cal. Like just not very good losses in the ACC. And then uh, post that loss to Cal, they've been playing really well. And I mean, this is an absolute just marquee win for them in a game where they did not lead until that final shot by Seth Trimble. They led for zero point 0.4 seconds in that game. Just incredible resilience against a Duke team that is really talented and is very good. Yeah, shout out Hubert Davis. I think a lot of people might have had him on the hot seat earlier in the year. I don't know that anyone has him on the hot seat anymore.
Yeah. Well, Our last game from Saturday, New Mexico, Boise State. Flashback to Wednesday, New Mexico hadn't lost at home for 23 games, and they get waxed by Utah State by 20 to put them a game back from the top of the Mountain West. And then they lose another game against Boise State, 91-90. I cannot remember the last time that New Mexico lost back-to-back games in the pit. And now they're on the same tier as Nevada for Mountain West championship contention and might have really screwed over their tournament chances. Just kind of a crazy game. A lot of guys fouling out. For New Mexico, Luke Hop, guy who averages 7 points, went for 30 and then fouled out at the end with kind of a dumb foul. But a Boise State team that also has been hot recently in Mountain West play, they really won't be able to make noise in the tournament unless they win the championship. But, I mean, if New Mexico keeps on losing games like this could be a 2 or even 1 bid Mountain West team depending on how San Diego State fares.
Yeah, I was gonna say if there's any loser in this losing streak for New Mexico, it's the Mountain West Conference. They cannot afford losses to a team like New Mexico who could make this a 3-bid conference. And, kind of, a negative and a positive is I think there's some decent depth to this conference. I mean, you saw UNLV take down Utah State earlier in the season, and Boise State is a team where even though they're in 6th place in the conference, I would not rule them out whenever you play them. They're a pretty decent team. So it's just one of those situations where the conference isn't top heavy enough to where the best teams can cruise to the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a rough ride the whole way.
It's not like the WCC. And I'm going to be interested for this conference tournament. It'll be one of the ones that I watch because not one of the ones. One of the ones that I more watch, not just because I'm an Aztec fan, but I could definitely see a GCU, Boise State, Nevada, maybe even UNLV making a run at a title and then punching their way to the tournament and being a kind of cool 12 or 13 seed. I think that would be interesting, but we'll kind of have to see how it goes. But last game, we had it today, just watched it. Kansas, Arizona, down goes number 1. Aidan?
Yeah, I mean, Kansas just played their hearts out. This was a super physical game, especially in the second half. The refs were kind of letting them play. Koa Pete really struggled in this game.
He was terrible. I don't like him as a draft prospect. He's physical and strong and whatnot, but when that fails him, it gets really rough. I don't know.
I mean, he was 2 for 11. He can't shoot from 3. He has basically no perimeter aspect. He's a pure post player who's 6'8". As a draft prospect, I don't really love that. But I guess shout out to Melvin Council.
6 for 25.
6 for 25 is abysmal. 25 shots as a point guard is kind of nuts, but he got to the line a lot. He was facilitating really well. And Bryson Tiller stepped up big. It's a guy who averages 8 points a game. He had 18 and 8, and then obviously my player of the week was Flory Badunga. He has just been a revelation for Kansas this year. He was a guy who came in as a really high recruit, but didn't play a lot. Wasn't great last year. Only averaged 5.9 and 5 rebounds a game, but he's averaging about 15 points, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. He is. I said it earlier. He is legitimately one of the best defensive players in the country. And he stepped up big in a game where they needed someone to step up with no Darren Peterson.
Yeah, this game right here shows me it shows you the caliber of coach that Bill Self is. Without his best player available, he still finds a way to take down the number 1 team in the entire country. And I think it also shows the atmosphere of Allen Fieldhouse. It really should be the most feared place in the entire country.
And what do we think of DNP?
Darren Peterson.
Did not play Darren Peterson.
Yeah, I mean, it's so tricky because he is such an awesome player and he is such an electric and smooth scorer. but he's played in like half the games this year. I guess today was less injury. It was flu-like symptoms, but there's just always something with this guy, and I I know a lot of people like him as the number one prospect in the draft. I kind of can't put him as my number one prospect when he is just not available. Like availability is really important, and I worry that it's just kind of gonna continue and translate to the NBA, where he's a guy who's awesome, but he only plays 50 to 60 games a year.
There's been a point this year where I've like thought each one of the top three prospects could be the number one pick. I just don't know, man. Like there's a lot of pros and some cons with each of them. Like with Peterson, the injury stuff scares me. With Debanza, he should be way better defensively, and with Boozer, can he really play the five? But I don't know. I guess I'd put my stock in Debanza for now. But yeah, Peterson scares me. Is that everything we have from college basketball?
Yeah, the only other thing was that the former G League player at Alabama, Charles Bediako, is no longer eligible after a
Good.
judge denies his injunction. Doesn't really matter anyway. He wasn't very good for Alabama, but I like that someone is taking a stand against these former pro players trying to come back to college basketball. It's getting out of control, so I like that something is being done against it.
All right. Well, last little segment here, golf. The waste management finished up, and I'm pretty sure we had someone on the show who was there.
I think we had multiple people on the show who were there.
Yeah, I was gonna say it wasn't
I
just
know.
me. Mr. Aiden Nobel actually had a premium experience of the waste management. But just real quick, I just wanted to say, one, I'm really grateful to my dad. For the longest time, I hated golf. I kept telling him over and over again that I thought golf was the most boring sport in the world. But eventually, I just caved in, and I've become a huge fan of the sport. And going to the waste management was just a dream come true to see all the golfers that I love in person, not just in person, but like interview them and ask them questions. It was amazing. And the WM is like it's like no other tournament you'll ever go to. It truly is just a huge party with golf going on in the background. So I could not be more grateful to
Yeah,
have the chance to go.
I think I couldn't have said it better myself. It is a rowdy atmosphere. There's no other golf tournament like it at all. The amount of people that pack that course is kind of nuts. It's if you even if you're not much of a golf fan, I urge everyone to try to just go for one day to just experience it because it is an awesome experience.
Yeah, and the last thing I just wanted to say is congratulations to Chris Gotterup for winning the Phoenix Open. Not a guy that I was really familiar with before this tournament. That's what I love about the Phoenix Open is that it's a great place for underdogs to make their name known. I was rooting for Mr. Hideki Matsuyama, so I was a bit disappointed, but congratulations to Chris nonetheless.
Yeah, and just last question, wrapping up the show. How do we feel about the historic pace that Thuggery captain Casey Smith is on, posting 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists a game on 68% true shooting? Some career numbers.
Um, he's been having a great year. I don't like the self tooting your own horn. Being the thug the admin of
Well, we
of
don't
the
know
page.
who Thuggery admin is. So
We know who the thuggery admin is. All right. Um, so you posting your own stats and kind of hyping yourself up is pretty hilarious.
I
But
dude, I was at
you've been having a great
PHNX.
year. You've been having a great
I was
year.
at PHNX. I was editing some graphics, and I had some time in between assignments, and I was like, what if I took this template and I turned it into a little personal fun project? And I was like, hey, I spent all this time, I might as well post it. That would be fun. And
I mean, career highs in several categories. Points, assists, true shooting, field goal percentage. I mean,
look,
it's been a great season.
ultimately the Thuggery has proven that they can win in the regular season. It's really time that we're going to be tested this week on Wednesday, and then it's time to get a playoff win.
What time is the game on Wednesday?
I don't know. I need to check. But the fact that we're 8 years in and we haven't gotten a playoff win is so disgusting. I mean, there's been some genuinely iconic performances and we haven't gotten the win. So we need to do that. It's wide open.
What would our like NBA comp be? A team that just can't get over the hump.
The Cavs
can't get playoff
or whatever.
wins.
I was gonna say the Cavs are probably the best comp in my mind.
Because
great regular season team, no postseason success.
The Cavs with this core, and yeah, I just want to keep up the same. I'm not gonna be able to keep up the efficiency of scoring, but I think the reason we've been successful is I haven't been shooting a lot of threes, so I want to keep that up because when I go downhill, stuff goes right. Yeah, but I think that's all we got. We got to talk some intramural ball, so that's always fun. What do you guys? No. Well, I'll save that for next show because that's more. That's more prudent for next show. Okay. Well, and also the shorts. Did you guys write down shorts? Come on, fellas.
I gotta remember it.
You can't.
I gotta be more consistent.
You can't leave the producing, the graphics, the shorts editing, everything. It's.
Hey, that's all you, bro. That's all you.
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, when the paychecks start coming in, we'll split it. We'll go 80, 10, 10. I think that's fair. Fair. 80, 10, 10.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, cool. Anyways, thank you all for listening to the Breakdown After Dark. Thank you so much for listening in.